Hello, welcome back to my studio and workshop this with Robin McClendon. Let's just dive right into what are the best paints for the Gelli plate and why. You can see I have an array of paints in front of me right now, and let's just start at one end and we're going to move right over. Let's start with black. One of the things that I find on the Gelli plate is that it's good to have your colors in different formulations of paints by different companies. The Gelli plate, you're building up colors on that plate, and those buildup of different types of acrylics, binders in them, different mediums, will have a push and pull to the amount that will come off the plate or stay on the plate. Some paints don't have as many binders in them, and they have a tendency to hang on the plate, where others with a lot of binders pull off. I like the push and pull of acrylics with matte, glossy finish, satin finishes. They all really make a difference. And the only way you'll discover the best paints and what works for your techniques is to try different brands in the same color. So for instance, in the golden, I have a carbon black. In the black, there are a number of black tones, but in this case, I'm using carbon black. I have Blick matte acrylic. So if I'm working with black on the plate, to have an acrylic, this is a fluid acrylic, and a matte, there's going to be not only a different saturation of color, there's going to be a different push and pull of that medium on the plate. So for instance, if you work with a matte acrylic, you're going to get a low sort of shine, or really none, right? Matte. And that has its applications. Matte paints can be very absorbent. So when you come with another layer, they have a tendency to absorb what's coming next. However, I find that mattes stick to the plate more, so you don't get all of the material off the plate. So if I'm working with a black, let's say, and I want to come back and get more of this matte off the plate, then I'm going to put down a fluid acrylic, or in the case, you can use just your standard formulation, which is a thicker paint, right? And this will pull off the plate as well. And so these are the things you will learn in gel printing. And as we move on, I'll make a lot of these things clear, and I'll also show and demonstrate. But let's just talk paints, because I know that's one that a lot of people ask. And if you're starting to accumulate paints, I want to make sure that you're getting paints that are going to be across the board in different formulations. Let's say that you don't want to go the route of the golden acrylic, which are expensive paints. You could go with like I said, a Blick studio acrylic. It's not as expensive, but we're still going to get the acrylic binders. A matte. You can also get matte acrylics or chalk paint. You'll find even if you go to Michael's or some of the other art supply stores. So then you could get a DecoArt in a satin. We have here in a black, or using the matte acrylic with the satin will work nicely. So there's different formulations, so you don't have to have all high-end paints, but what you want to do is kind of get different paints across the board and try them. So if I'm in the studio working, I'm going to have several blacks that I'm going to work with, and as I begin to work with them, using them will make a lot of sense which ones to use. So here again, I'm going to show you in the white. I have a zinc white and golden. I have a matte acrylic in the Blick, and in the Rowney, I have a white. This is a very, low-end paint. I think this whole tube was just under $4. This matte acrylic is a very large bottle of it. I think this might have been $7 or so, but the matte acrylics in the small bottles are a couple dollars, right? So same thing there. And then of course the goldens, this one can be a little pricey, but I always say have at least one or two high-end paints in your palette, because the amount of acrylic binders that's in a golden over, let's say, a Rowney is quite significant. And as I said earlier, the amount of binders will cause a greater pull of product back off your plate. And I said we'll continue to talk about these, but it's always good to have one slightly higher end paint to go along with some of the other, you know, lower end craft paints and things like that. I also like to work with various colors in my color palette. So here again are some more matte acrylics. So as you start building your color palette, you can use different matte colors along with, you know, other sorts of acrylic. In this case, we're dealing with the color shift in the metallics. And I work with matte, metallic, fluid acrylics, all of them together. In fact, I really like metallics for a number of reasons. One of my techniques, glazing, which I'll be demonstrating moving forward, metallics seem to work really well for that technique. I also like, in terms of matte, in the paper Artsy products, and these you can get on Seth Apter's website, and I'll have all of the links for different things below it. Let my camera focus here. I love this mud splat, but these are chalk acrylics, so they're called Fresco finish chalk acrylics. Yet at the same time, we have chalk acrylics that are in the Folk Arts brand. This is a metallic, but in Craft Smart and Folk Art, they have chalk acrylics. And the Waverly paints that can, you know, that are, you can find in other markets, especially Europe. I know a lot of Waverly paints, but we have them here in the States as well. They're another really wonderful chalk paint, and I just thought I'd try to get my hand on one. So the Waverly chalk. And these are very inexpensive paints, and I think a bottle is like $2.98 or something like that for 2 ounces. And these work beautifully. So if you can't get your hands on the Blick, the Waverly is just fine. I'm just showing you a variety of brands. This video is not designed to push any one brand or not. I want to give you as many options as you can to find chalks. And I know I'm very visual, so if I see the product, if I can see the label, if I can see the company, that really helps me. So any chalk paint is considered a matte paint. They're basically one and the same. Okay. Also, as I was showing here, these are the color shifts are wonderful. They're amazing acrylic colors. These are craft paints, a few dollars a bottle. I love these. And then some of the other metallics are Folk Art has a wonderful metallic. Martha Stewart has a nice line of metallic paints. Arteza, some of my favorite paints are their iridescent series is just amazing. The Arteza, hands down, they remind me a lot of golden products in the iridescent paint line, and for a fraction of the price. So these Artezas are really, really good formulations, and they work really amazingly on the Gelli plate. And so if you have some Artezas, those are wonderful. And like I said, Folk Art or Craft Smart. And these are all all the lines of craft paints. Now, if I'm saying paint, I know I have so many of you all over the world that are doing gel printing and follow me. Whatever paints you can find in your geographic area, just look for craft paints, look for metallics, look for things that are matte or chalk, satin, these kind of words that are translated into your languages or into the companies paint companies you can easily find are what you want to look for. You definitely want to go. So if I'm working on a color palette, let's just talk about that real quick. Oh, also matte medium. Matte medium is very important. I love matte medium on our plate, and I have the golden here, but any brand of matte medium is going to work wonderfully. But here again, the higher the quality, the more acrylic binders are in them, and those binders are what make things pull off the plate. But I find that I don't want to use all high end because it's something you don't get enough push and pull. So that's why I definitely like to use across the gamut. So let's say I'm working on a project. I may pull the goldens in the zinc white, a turquoise, and a celadon here in the matte acrylic. I love this Payne's gray, which is sort of a blue-black kind of color. It's a really pretty color. So I'd put that one down. So now I have a standard acrylic that's thicker, you know, when our standard what you think of when we think about acrylic paint in a tube. This is a fluid acrylic, so it's going to be a little more fluid. These are matte. And then I would do like an Arteza iridescent in this really beautiful blue black. So I get a little, I mean fancy black. I get a little bit of a brown black in my palette. And then I would go for maybe like a golden iridescent bronze to get some more gold into my palette, because I like metallics. So this would be a palette I would work with. And you can see that I have all variations of paints here, high end to low end. Okay, and that's that would be the walk away for this video, is that go across the board. Don't stick with one company or one brand or one formulation or one type of density of paint, you know, from matte to fluid acrylic to your standard acrylic. And as you're building your palette, and of course then make sure you have your matte medium, but as you're building your palette, look at it like that. Don't be afraid to just go into the paint store, get a lot of low-end paints, and just get several blacks, get several whites, get, you know, and then play with them, and you'll find which ones will be responsive on the plate or not. So any questions, any further questions you have about color, please leave it below the video in the comment section. I'm reading all those, evaluating them, and I'm happy to continue to flesh out any questions that you may have on this topic or any other topics that you find a little bit daunting or confusing as you get ready to approach working on gel prints. And until the next time, happy creating. Bye-bye.